So here we are, guys. We're getting close to the end of Unit 4, which is on multiplication, and we're focusing on two-digit multiplication. So we're multiplying two-digit by two-digit numbers. We can use area models, or we can use partial products, or we can use our algorithm. So we're going to be switching back and forth between our partial products and our algorithm for us. So just note for this one, when I have P on the side, that just means we're using partial products. We have the A on the side, that means we're going to be using the algorithm for it. So we're going to be flipping back and forth between those two. So let's get started on question number 1. The ferry made 18 one-way trips on Monday and 18 one-way trips on Tuesday. So let's get those numbers circled. It carried 21 cars on each trip. How many cars were ferried on Monday and Tuesday? Use estimation and mental math to check if your answer is reasonable. Well, what do we have to do first? First, we have to figure out how many trips it made. Well, it made 18 and 18. So what is that? That is 18 plus 18, which is what? 36. So we have 36 groups, and how big is each group? Well, each group is 21. It's carrying 21 cars. So that's going to be 36 times 21. So for this one, I'm going to put an A, so I'm going to use the algorithm for this one. Now with my algorithm, what I'm doing is I am multiplying this one's place value by everything up top. So let's begin. 1 times 6 is 6. And then we go to our next place value. 1 times 3 is 3. So now we go to our next place value. Remember, I'm multiplying this in our tens by everything up top. So let's begin. I put a 0 down. And why do I do that? Well, I'm in my tens place value here. So I have to start my tens place value down here. So we have 2 times, let's use red. 2 times 6 is 12. So I put the 2 down and regroup that one. And now what do I do next? Well, what I do next is I multiply 2 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6, plus that one up there is 7. So what do we have when we add them all up together? We have 756. Now let's use estimation because it told us to use that too. Well, 36 is close to 40. 21 is close to 20. 2 times 4 is 8, and add those 2 zeros on. Are these numbers close to each other? Yes, they are. So our estimation shows our answer is probably reasonable. Let's go on to number 2 now. Use an algorithm or partial products to find the answer. Estimate to check if your answer is reasonable. Well, what do I have here? Remember, I'm going to multiply this one, or this one's place value, by everything up top. So 1 times 3 is 3. And then 3 times 4 is 12, but they already wrote that for me. So now I go to my next place value. 4 times 2 is 2, which they wrote here. They already put that 0 in, so I'm in the tens place value. So my last step is 2 times 4, which is 8. So let's now add our answers up and see what we get. We get 943. Then it says estimate to see if it's reasonable. Well, this is 40 times 20, which is 800. And 800 is kind of close to 943, so my answer is reasonable. All right, off to number 3. It says use an algorithm or partial products. Well, you'll notice for these ones, since it only has 2 rows, they're not really giving us a choice for this. So I'm going to be using our algorithm. So we have 2 times 6 up top is 12. So I write that 2 down and I regroup the 1. Then we have 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. So I've used that one, so I'm going to cross it out. Now what do we go to next? We go to this 2 next. Notice this is in the tens place value, so I put a 0 down here. So I start on that tens place value. We then have 2 times 6 is 12. Regroup that one. Then we have what? We have 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Add them up. 652. Now, there is a mistake here. Do you guys see what it is? I did all that hard work, but I added incorrectly. This isn't a 6. 3 plus nothing is not 6. So make sure after doing all that hard work that we put our correct answer down by doing that addition. You may think it's easy, but you make it in a rush. Okay, our next one. Let's begin. We're going to be using the algorithm for this because it doesn't give us 4 rows for partial products. So now let's begin. 6 times 5 is 30, so I put the 0 down, and I regroup that 3. So what do we do next? We go to the next place value. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Now let's go to our next place value. Notice I'm in the tens, so I have to put a 0 down so I can start in the tens place value. 1 times 5 is 5, and then our last one is 1 times 1. Oops, I did not write the 5 down. 1 times 1 is 1. So now what do? We add them all up. 0, 14, regroup that one, 240. Okay, let's head to this one now. 27 times 12. For this one, I'm going to use the algorithm, and this one I'm going to use the algorithm. 2 times 7 is 14. Regroup the 1. Then we have 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Notice now, I go to my next place value because I've multiplied everything up top by the 1's place value, so I put a 0 in. Why is that? So I can start in the 10's place value. 1 times 7 is 7, and then we have 1 times 2 is 2. So what do we do now? We add them up. 12, regroup that one, 3, 324. Number 6, 36 times 23. So we multiply, that's 18, regroup that one. Now we go to the tens place, 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Since I've used this 1 now, I'm going to cross out so I don't forget about it, or I can erase it. So now I go to my next place value, which is 2. Put a 0 in because I'm in my tens place value. Remember, whenever I start my tens place value, I want to start in the tens place value for my product. 2 times 6 is 12. Regroup the 1. Then we have 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So now let's add them up. 828. All right, this row I'm also going to be doing the algorithm. In the next row, we'll try it with the partial products. 18 times 42. All right, so let's begin. 2 times 8 is 16, so I regroup that 1. Then we go 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So that first part is 36. Now I put a 0 in. Why is that? Well, because I'm starting with the tens place value, so I need to start in the tens place value for the product. 4 times 8 is 32, so I put the 2 down, and I regroup that 3. Remember, I already added this 1 from this row. So now I have 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So now let's add them up. 756. Now our next one. 34 times 21. Remember, I multiplied this 1's place value by everything up top. So 4 times 1 is 4. Then I go to our next place value. 4 times 3 is 3. Oops, but I did not draw that 4 completely. There we go. Now we go to the tens place value. Remember, whenever I go to that tens place value, I need to put a 0 here so I can start recording in the tens place value. Notice our tens should line up. So let's begin now. We multiply that 2 by what? Multiply that 2 by the 1's. 2 times 4 is 8. And lastly, 2 times 3 is 6. So let's add them up. 4, 11, regroup that one, 714. Okay, so we're going to go to our next one. And this one, we're going to switch it up. We're going to do that partial products just so we don't forget that strategy. So what is it? Well, I have 7 times 3 is 21. And since I'm doing partial products for this one, I'm going to have 4 different rows for this. And why is that? Well, I'm multiplying this place value by each place value, by each individual place value. So now what's next? Well, we do 5 times 7, but it's not just 5, it's 50. So what is 5 times 7? It's 35. And then I put that 0 on because it's actually 50 times 7. So now let's go to our next one. So now I go to 1, but it's not just 1, it's what? It's 10. 10 times 3, which is 30. And our last one is 10 times 50. And what is 10 times 50? It's 500. So now I can add those up. 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 3 is 10. Regroup that one. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 5 is 9. So my answer is 901. So with our partial products, if we're doing it that way, we have 4 place values. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we should have 4 partial products that we add up. So now let's head to number 10. We're going to do partial products for this one as well. And I'm going to remember my commutative property lets me flip it. So I'm going to put the 46 up top because I'll still get that same answer. So now we have 1 times 6 is 6. And we go to our next place value. 1 times 40 is 40. Now we go to this 8. Remember, it's not just 8, though, it's 80. So 80 times 6 is 480. And our last one is 80 times 40. Well, in that 80 times 40, there's 2 zeros, so I can put those 2 zeros down and then do my basic math fact. So now we add them up. 12, regroup that one, 7, 3. 3,726. Now let's head off to number 11. So we have those two ways. I'm going to go back to our standard algorithm way. So let's do 15 times 16. 6 times 5 is 30. Put the 0 down, regroup the 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So now we go to our tens place value. So I put a 0 in so I can start writing in that tens place value. 1 times 5 is 5. And then we have 1 times 1 is what? Just 1. So let's add them up. Our answer is 240. So now number 12. We have one more row after we finish this row right here. 21 and 17. Remember, I multiplied this 1's place value by everything up top. 1 times 7 is 7. Then I go to the next place value of 1 times 10 is 10. And it makes sense. Why does it make sense? Well, because I basically just did 1 times 17, which should be 17. So now let's head to our next part. 2 times 7, but it's not just 2, it's 20. So I put that 0 down so I can start in the tens place value. Now I can put the 4 down from 14 and regroup that one. And then I have 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So what do I get when I add them up? I get 357. And lastly, our last row. We have 12 times 22. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. And I'm going to use the algorithm for this one and the algorithm for this one over here. And then we have 2 times 1 is 2. Put a 0 down because now I'm going to the tens place value. 2 times 2 is 4. And then 2 times 1 is 2. So what do I get when I add them up? I get 264. Number 14, we're going to use our algorithm for this one. 38 times 41. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 3 is 3. Then I go to the tens place value, so I put a 0 down because I'm starting the tens. 4 times 8 is what? 32. Regroup that 3. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15. I cross that 3 out so I know I've already added it, and then I add them up. 8551, 1,558. And lastly, number 15. We have 42 times 52. We're going to use the algorithm for this one as well. So we have 2 times 2 is 4. Then we have 2 times 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Then we have 2 times 4 is 8. Now I put a 0 down because I'm going to the next place value. 5 times 2 is what? It's 10. So I put a 0 down, regroup that one. And then I have 5 times 20, or 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21. So let's add them up, and I got 2,184 for our answer. And our last one, we're going to use partial products, just so we can go back and forth between those two, that we have these two strategies. Okay, so my first one is 9 times 8, which is 72. My next one is 9 times 30. So since it's 30, I put a 0 down. And then 9 times 3, my basic math fact is 27. My next one is 10 times 8, which is 80. And our last one is 1 times 3. But remember, it's not just 1 times 3, it's actually 10 times 30, which is 300. So now let's add them up. 15 plus 8 is 23. Regroup that 2. Then we have 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So our answer is 732. Now, there is a mistake on here. So I'm going to check this. I'm going to use my standard algorithm as just another method to make sure. That's why we have these two methods, so we can check. We have 9 times what? 9 times 8 is 72, so I regroup that 7. Then we have 9 times 3 is 27, plus 7 is what? Is 34. So now I go to my tens place value, and it's going to be 38. So let's add them up now. And what do we get? We're going to get 2, regroup that one, 7. So, where's my mistake? Well, my mistake, if I look, is right here. And what should that have been? It should have been 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 8 is 22, and I had as 23. So that's why I also have those two methods, so we can check our work as well. All right, let's head to our harder part, being those math problems. So, number 17 we have. The Queen Mary 2's height above water is about the same as a 14-story building, which they're showing us right here. What is the Queen Mary 2's height? Well, they're telling me I have 14 groups, and each of these groups, let me zoom in, each of these groups is 12. So what is that? If I have, man, I've got to zoom in even more. What is it if I have 14 groups of 12? Well, that's multiplication. So I'm going to do 12 times 14. And I'm going to use my algorithm because that's my fastest way. So now I have 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 times 1 is 4. Then I have 4 times 2, but remember it's not just, it's not 4. I have 1 times 2, but remember it's not just 1, it's a 10. So I need to put a 0 here, so I start on that tens place side. 1 times 2 is 20, and then we have 1 times 1 is 1. So we'll add those up, and we get 861. It's 168 feet tall, which is, if you think about it, that is humongous. Now let's head to number 18. Write the multiplication equation illustrated by the array drawn on the figure. Find the partial products, then calculate the final products. This was having us do our partial products. So what does it look like? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is 10. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then what do we have on the side? Well, I'm going to switch to blue. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then let's switch to green. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what is our problem? Well, it is 10 times 9. Oops, not 10 times 19. That one was not on purpose. It is 19 times 14, because our 19 comes from here, 14 comes from here. Wants us to find our partial products. 10 times 10 is 100. 10 times 9 is 90. 10 times 4 is 40. And 9 times 4 is 36. So now we can add those up. We have 100 plus 90 plus 40 plus 36. 9 plus 4 is 13 plus 3 is 16. So I regroup that one. So it's 266. Our next one, number 19. Higher order thinking. An elevator can carry 15 adults or 20 children at one time. During the course of the day, the elevator carries a full passenger load 52 times. If all the passengers were children, how many more people would the elevator carry than if all the passengers were adults? So it's basically asking us, if all of these children, unsupervised children for some reason, rode it 52 times, how many people would that be first? So let's find out. We'd have 52 times 20. And I'm going to use my algorithm. So we have 2 times 0 is 0. We have 5 times 0 is 0. So my first row is going to be 0. Now I go to the tens place value, so I put a 0 down, and we have 2 times 2 is 4. And then we have 2 times 5 is 10. So what is my answer? Well, it's pretty easy. It's 1,040 children. Or I can put kids. So now it wants to know, though, how many more would it be if we also did that, but with adults? So if it carried those adults. Well, that would be 15 groups of 52. So let's find that one out now. 52 times 15. And this one, I'm going to switch, and I'm going to do my partial products. So we have 5 times 2 is 10. Then we switch, and we have 5 times 50 is 250. Then we switch, and we have 10 times 2 is 20. And lastly, we have 10 times 50 is 500. So let's add these up. 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 2 is 8, 780 adults. And now notice, you'll see what's asking. It says, how many more people would the elevator carry if they were all adults? So let's check. So what do we need to do with these two? Well, we're going to have to subtract them to see how many more. So we have 1,040 minus 780. So let's check that out now. 0 minus 0 is 0, but here I can't do 4 minus 8, so I need to go and regroup. Can't borrow anything from 0, so I need to regroup from my thousands. So that will become a 0, and this 0 will become a 10. And now I can borrow, I can regroup. That 10 will become a 9, and this 4 will become a 14. 14 minus 8 is 6, 9 minus 7 is 2. So what's our answer? Is 260 more people. Okay, we have just our Common Core assessment, these bottom ones, which will be like on our SBAC test. 10 years ago, Melissa planted a tree in her backyard. She had taken a photo of the tree every week so she can see how it has grown as time passed. How many photos of the tree does Melissa have? Well, there's 52 weeks in a year, and it says 10 years ago. So what is that? Well, that's 52 times 10. And remember, we've talked about this many times. We can just get rid of that 0, do our multiplication, and add it back on. So let's do that. Let's pretend that 0 is gone. 1 times 52 is what? 52. And we add that 0 back on. And you'll notice that is one of our answers right there. Number 21 now. Mr. Morris bought a sketch pad for 24 of his students. Each sketch pad contained 50 sheets. How many sheets are in the pad? Well, we have 24 groups, 24 students, and each one is 50. Each one has a group of 50. So we're going to do 50 times 24. I'm going to use my algorithm. So notice I start with a 0, so I'm just going to put a 0 here because I know 0 times 4 is 0 and 0 times 2 is 0. So now I can go to the tens place value. So I'm going to put a 0 there as a placeholder, and now I'm good to begin. 5 times 4 is 20. Put the 0 down, regroup the 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So my answer is 1,200. And do I see that as a choice? Yes, I do. I see it as choice B. That's it for lesson 4-9. Congratulations, guys, on getting through your multiplication.